ready?
That's Aiden, by the way.
Good morning, Aiden. I like your Metallica shirt.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Welcome. Feel the speed. Beautiful, glorious morning. I think we got a great sunlight shot of Mount St. Helens behind us. Busy month. We've had MXGP works this past weekend, and kind of why we're starting these shows is just the interesting things that come across, Glen Helen. And I have here sitting Kris Keefer, the head test rider for DirtRider magazine. Is that the correct title?
Yep, senior test editor. Senior sounds old, so we'll maybe just leave that out.
We have a lot of magazines that come here for Glen Helen and use Glen Helen as their backdrop, their testing grounds.
Will he make it?
Like I was saying, Glen Helen is a backdrop for a lot of magazines, and today, after we had a huge works weekend, DirtRider's here, and they are going to do a 250 shootout. So tell us a little bit about being a test rider first. I mean, what you've been doing this for a long time. Tell us about how you got into it first.
Well, I got into it. I used to work in high school. I used to work at Al Baker's XRs Only, and Carl Kramer used to come in and do project bikes and stuff. And I always bugged him about being a photo model. So started out being a photo model with DirtRider, and then that progressed on to doing stuff with Yamaha, and then went to KTM for a little bit, and then decided, hey, in DirtRider, I was still doing DirtRider stuff, being a photo model test guy, and they wanted me in-house to be an editor, so I started doing that, and just kind of took off from there. And yeah, this is my 16th year of being a test rider, so been doing it for a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a great job. I mean, you really got to be knowledgeable about a bike, and I was always that way when I was younger. I used to tinker with stuff and feel stuff and then go ride, and being from Hesperia, California in the desert, I could just ride from my house, so it was really easy to do. And I raced Supercross and did all that, but I knew my family didn't have that much money, and only way for me to make it, so to speak, be able to ride dirt bikes and make money was to maybe be a test rider and be an editor at a magazine. So that was my goal as I was growing up, is I really wanted to ride dirt bikes and get paid. I knew I wasn't going to be able to race dirt bikes and get paid, but riding dirt bikes is pretty dang cool.
What does DirtRider do different, or how does DirtRider conduct its shootouts? Just for people, that are watching and come here, it'd be easy just to say, hey, this bike goes 75 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But obviously that's not the case.
Yeah, no, there's a lot more there's a lot more to it than just saying how fast it is, because in motocross, as you know, there's so many variables out on the track. So you have suspension, chassis, engine, and we're here today doing the 2017 250 shootout. So I don't know how we differ, but I know we have score sheets. We have several test riders. We go to several different tracks. Glen Helen's a key track for us because obviously, as everybody knows, it's one of the roughest tracks, so it's really good for everything. It's good for chassis with all the bumps, suspension, engine because they have huge hills, so you can feel the power up the hills. So it's really important for us to be here to do a day of testing to get a feel of the bikes. But what's cool is we all have, there's 6 bikes, we have 6 test riders. Today we're out doing photos and video. We try to get that out of the way, and then we have 3 more days of just straight testing the bikes. And each test rider gets a sheet, like I said. They don't talk to one another. They fill out their sheets, and then they give them back to me. We all go over them, and we calculate, maybe we'll have 12 test riders over the course of the whole test, and we calculate the numbers, and we have a winner. So that's how basically we conduct our shootout.
Now, here's a good question. As far as somebody who's looking to get a new bike,
yeah,
what should they look for in your shootout article? What are some of the key things that
Well, the key things is we have several test riders, and we always put their names, their weight, their riding ability. So let's say you're a vet guy. We have vet riders, and maybe he's 185 pounds, you're a vet guy, 185 pounds, kind of see what he likes and see what you would want to go with. Every bike is different feeling. So you might be a front end steering type of rider, you might be a rear wheel, steering type of rider. So we pick apart the bikes for what type of rider you are. So let's say, for instance, a Kawasaki is a super rear end steering feeling motorcycle. A Honda is more front end steering. So depending how you ride, we get that point across. We give you the information. You can digest it and decide, hey, I'm this type of guy. This is the bike that's closest to me, and maybe this is what I want. Even if when someone wins a shootout, the 5th place bike could still be the bike that you want. There's no bad bikes nowadays,
Yeah.
It just depends what you're looking for. Some have a little bit different suspension character, some have a little bit different engine character. So just depending on how you ride and what you want is basically how you digest the shootout.
DirtRider's been known to do, have some crazy, the torture tests
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is there anything like that this year? I know I've asked Pete
Yep.
a couple times. Anything like that this year?
There's nothing this year on the horizon, but I come from that era where Jimmy Lewis and those guys had a 24-hour torture test, and so I'm pitching the idea to bring some of that back. I thought that was a great event. It got a lot of people together. It got a lot of companies together to build bikes, and I thought it was really cool. So hopefully by maybe 2018 we're going to be doing something like that again. And of course Glen Helen's a perfect spot for that because there's so much ground to cover. A mixture of off-road stuff and motocross. That's what DirtRider's about, not just one thing. And I like riding all different kinds of stuff. I'm just not a moto guy. I love going trail riding. We do adventure stuff. So that's a big aspect for us. We want to make sure we get some off-road stuff in there. And I think we're missing a little bit of that right now with the 24-hour torture test, not being there. And even if it's not 24 hours, we still want to do something in the fact of getting a bunch of companies together, building units, and making a really gnarly test for off-road bikes. So that's coming soon.
All right. Well, thank you for coming and
Thanks for
giving
having
us
us.
that whole that spill. Where can people get a hold of DirtRider? And
Well, you can go to dirtrider.com, or you can email us at dr@bonniarcorp.com, and feel free to hit us up, questions. If you guys got some ideas, you guys want to see some stuff in the magazine, feel free to hit us up, and we'll see what we can do.
cool. Let's end this with watching the water truck.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll see you next time on Feel the Speed.